Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome once again to your live Investment Dominator Q&A call. And as usual, I'm Warren Davis, and we're here on this bright and beautiful Thursday. It is the 4th of June, and it is 12 noon. I tell you, it seems like just yesterday it was Monday, and we were having our Monday webinar. But we are happy to be here with you today, and we're going to hopefully get your questions answered. Hopefully all of you can see me, not see me, but see my screen, and you can see the LPG deal flow that is up right now. And just so you know, we did have, this is answering one of the questions from actually that we had on last week. You know what? We have a 2-day workshop coming up, a 2-day Investment Dominator Workshop. 1 week from today, we will be in that workshop. By the way, I will be holding a webinar on that day as well, but we'll usually just have it for 30 minutes. So next Thursday, we'll just have it from the 12 noon hour till 12:30, just so you know, because I'm one of the presenters in the 2-day workshop. So we'll be sharing some teachings in the morning, and I think my part comes right up to the noon time. Then I'll jump on this webinar and be with you guys, and then at 12:30 I get back in the room on Zoom to answer more questions before we start our 1 o'clock session on Thursday. So I will be on this call that we're having right now from 12 noon until 12:30, and then I'll be jumping off. So just an FYI for next Thursday. It will be an abbreviated call, but we will be, one of the questions that we got the other day was, what do you cover in the 2-day Investment Dominator Workshop? And just like what you see on my screen here, the LPG deal flow is all of the aspects we cover in that 2-day workshop. We basically take this entire process where we teach you how to select a market, get a contact list for your owners, of property, and we teach you how to filter that list, mail those letters out to your potential sellers, talk to your sellers. We do the preliminary research on those properties so you can give an offer out. And then we teach you how to mail out your offers, and we'll be actually doing a blind offer out of that 2-day workshop. And then we show you how to open up escrow, and you do a detailed, what we call a deep dive into that property that you just got under contract. And then we show you how to market that property with and without owner financing. And we teach you how to close on those deals. So this is an entire process. As you know, those of you that have been through this process, it can take you about 2 months, maybe 2.5 months sometimes for this entire process. We're going to go through that in 2 days. So it's it's a lot of information coming at you, but it's a fantastic 2 days that we get to be with folks that are getting started with the Investment Dominator. And many of you I've had the onboard call with, had the pleasure of speaking with you. So we're ready for you to really ramp up your learning during that 2-day workshop. For those of you that are brand new, we want to say welcome to you. Welcome to this webinar. This is where you can ask questions. We've already have some questions coming in for today, and I thank you for sending in your questions. I will be getting those questions answered as quickly as I can. What we normally do is we go through the questions that we have a backlog from from Monday night's call and even from last Thursday, and then we will answer your questions from today. And so I'll make sure, I think I have it from Jennifer, I'll make sure I get these in before the call is over so that you can get your answers to these questions, Jennifer. Okay, so what will be covered? That was one question we just answered in 2-day workshop. Okay, those of you that are brand new with us here, again, welcome. And if you want to type in your question, I appreciate it if you could, just like one question that's already come in where Jennifer put in a question, but she put Q and then the question, Q number 1 and a colon, and then she put the question. So you can either put the word question, or you can put a Q letting me know it's a question, or you can even use a question mark to let me know it is a question prior to submitting that question so that I can distinguish between questions and comments. So what I'm talking about here is you can put in Q that like Q1, and then go ahead and type in your question. Okay, or you can put in the word question before you type in your question, just so I can distinguish, or you can put in a question mark, and then type in your question, okay? Either one of those will work just fine. It will really help me to see that you have questions. Don't worry about raising the hand because I don't normally see that one anyway, okay? So, as stated, let's just go on and get your questions answered from, this has been a really good week, and we're hoping that you've had a good week. We know there's a lot of unrest, from a political standpoint, and we're hoping that you're staying safe and you're staying out of that crazy activity that's causing so many people unrest nowadays, and that you're focusing on your land business. So let's go ahead and look at one of the questions we had from Lorraine on I believe it was last Thursday, and we can answer it right here out of the Investment Dominator. She says, I've started to get responses from my first mailer. One went directly to the website, okay, that I've received. And I'm assuming she's maybe talking about the buying site. Okay, make sure I get the question listed here. Okay, started receiving mailings. Or responses from her first mail. That's great. That's always a good feeling. You get some responses, some offer requests. And the question is, one went directly to the website and I received an email regarding the request. My question is, where in Investment Dominator do I go to retrieve that message that came via the website? Well, first of all, if it came from the website, and it came via an email, my thinking is that when you go to your buying site here, okay, if the person had hit the link "sell your land for cash," it would not have come in the form of an email, because this is where they actually fill out information. And let's say if I put in this John Jones and I give a phone number, and not having a reference number, they may or may not have one, but if they don't, they would come into a screen like this, which will ask them for additional contact information about the property, any additions, and they're going to hit this finish offer request. Now that would not go as an email. When they say finish offer request, what that's actually going to do is it's going to create a record in your pending preliminary research status. So these would be offer requests, and it'll be a record just like this in pending preliminary research status, where it's time for you to go into action and give them an offer. So I have a feeling that they did not do that. What it appears that they did, they might have come to this contact us and put in, the name and their email address and gave you a message, okay? And then when they sent the message, it would have gone to the email address that's associated with your business name. So that's where I believe they contacted you. And so your question was, is where in the Investment Dominator to go to retrieve that message. And there's nowhere in the Investment Dominator. When they do a contact us, it should formulate an email. And when it formulates that email, you'll get that email, but there won't be any record of that particular correspondence in Investment Dominator. The only way to have that happen, as I forestated, was for them to actually, on the website, uh, hit the sell your land link, and then fill out the appropriate information, okay? So I'm hoping that clears that up, Lorraine, for you, and you at least have some clarity in how Investment Dominator works there. So where in ID do I retrieve that info from the buying site? Okay, very good. All right, still have some more questions coming in. We'll get to them as quickly as we can. Let me go on here and finish up from our last week. I believe this question came from Tara. Looks like it's referring to skip tracing. Okay. And Tara's question is, we made a reference, script tracing, it must be about script tracing because we made reference to when you re-import your script traced records back into the Investment Dominator. If you don't select the update existing function, is that an issue? And we can say, yes, it is an issue. It is an issue, but it's not a big issue. So when you come over here, land deals basically, and skip tracing, for those of you that may not be aware, skip tracing is simply when you send out your prospect letters, if they do not get to the address, or they get to the address and the person has changed their address, they've moved, it's going to come back to you. This record would come back to me if it doesn't reach this owner, would come back to me and say, basically, return to sender, the address is unknown. So this is the letter that you would put in skip trace status. You change the status to skip trace, and you might send this off to a VA so they look up the right address, put the record back with the correct address, and then you're going to import it back into Investment Dominator. You would import those records that they skip traced. You would choose the file, bring it in, and this is where Taro is talking about you hit update existing records. Remember, if we hit this update existing records, the system finds a matching property record that is already in the system based on the APN, the property state, and property county. It will update the owner's contact information. So once you skip trace and your skip trace VA has found those addresses, you want to bring them back in. You want to hit this update existing records so that Investment Dominator knows, okay, these are records. If I find a corresponding APN, owner's name, etc., I want to update their contact information. If you didn't tell Investment Dominator to do this and you still had to create new records, what Investment Dominator is going to do is going to look into it's going to look in its archive files and say, oh, I've already got this owner's name, I've already got this APN existing in the system, so I want to make sure I do not add it again. So in that case, Tara, if you did not hit update existing records, Investment Dominator, when you import this, is going to bypass all of those records so that they're not duplicated, so it doesn't create duplicate owners. And that's the issue that will take place, is your records with all the new address information will not get updated in Investment Dominator. So you want to make sure when you're coming in for a second time, when you're re-importing records into Investment Dominator, you always hit this update existing records before you import them. Before you say upload list, you want to update existing records, then choose the file from your computer, upload it, and it will automatically know if I find this owner, update their address information. Okay. Okay, and I guess, some days, I need a pen that works here. Is it an issue? Just want to make sure I get the question down. In ID, or skip tracing. If we don't, press the update existing records. Okay. All right, very good. Hope that brings clarity there for you, Tara. And another question we had from last week as well is Sheila asks, can you direct me to the lesson on programming Tresta? To lesson on programming Tresta. Okay. Okay, NID. Okay, I wish I could. Sheila, the issue here is that, Tresta is a third-party system, right? So here we have, it's Tresta, and it's associated with PatLive, which is a call center that takes your calls, neutral letter calls, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So Tresta is just like Ring Central in its application. What it does, it gives you one number and two extensions. So Tresta is the same, it's a package from within PatLive that will do the same thing Ring Central does, gives you one number and two extensions. And so in setting this up, setting up voicemail recordings, this is where we have this in your company information, where you have one number and two extensions. That's what Sheila's referring to. So she's asking, do we have any lessons on programming Tresta and scripts? Unfortunately, we do not, because Tresta, just like Ring Central, is a third-party organization. And normally, if we were to put together articles on how to program Tresta, then all of a sudden PatLive changes that process. Then all of a sudden our articles are out of date, and they do that a lot. They change their procedures. So what you'll have to do is contact PatLive and have them help you set up this Tresta package so that you can have one number, two extensions. There won't be anything that we can do, and there's nothing available that speaks to that. We do have, if you come under your help, search our user guides, we do have things about PatLive. If you just type in PatLive, we have their articles, how to give PatLive access to your Investment Dominator. There are different live trainings regarding PatLive, how to manage PatLive, but we don't have anything on specific instructions on setting up Tresta, because again, those are instructions they can change at any time. So unfortunately, we can't direct you in that area. Sorry about that. Okay, let's look at some of these. I'll see if I can get some of these questions here. We do have a few more questions from the other day, from Monday's class, which was 6-1. I'm going to see if I can get Jennifer's question here. Jennifer says, where can I find the offer calculator in Investment Dominator? Offer calculator, NID. Basically, where is it? Okay. Excellent question. Under your land deals, Jennifer, the first thing that must happen, okay, you see these records come in, they come in prospect status. In order to even access the offer calculator so you can determine your offers, you have to put them, this is the offer request stage. They have to be a status, pending preliminary research status. So that's number one. 9 times out of 10, when folks can't find the market research, it's because their record is not in pending preliminary research status. So if you have records that are in prospect status, you have to come in here, select that record, change the status from prospect to pending preliminary research status. That's your first step. Then once they're in pending preliminary research status, I can come over here to this little window here. If you can see where my cursor is at, I can left click on that, and you see it has, I access the calculate offer option amount. I can come in here and it brings me right to this calculate my offer, which means I need a market value entered. So that's the second thing. First item is you need to have under pending preliminary research status. Secondly, if you edit your record, you need to be able to scroll down and you should have a market value in terms of comps, market value. You need to have an entry there as well. And then from within your record, I can go under options. I can do calculate offer option amount. Okay, and it brings me right here. So it's two different ways you can get at it. But as long as I've got my market value entered here, Investment Dominator will calculate, my minimum and my maximum for this particular record. So those two things are important. Must be under pending preliminary research status, and you should have a market value that you've calculated from your comps, looking at Trulia or looking at realtor.com. And then once you update your record, don't forget to update your record. So some people come in here and change the status, they'll put in a market value, they don't update the record, and they're still wondering why they don't see the calculate offer option amount. Very important. Okay. Hopefully that will get you past that that particular hump there and move you on down the road to determining what your offer is going to be on that property. So where can you find the market research section? This is another question from Jennifer. Do you find market research? Okay. And you can see where I was in Investment Dominator just a few moments ago. All right, so that you can determine, again, your record must be in pending preliminary research status. Once it's in this status, it gives you access to market research here in options. So I can then access Trulia, Zillow, whatever. But now let me share something else with you here. Okay, the way I got into this is if I listed all of my records, let's just go back to all in the process. If my record is in prospect status, in order for me to be able to get to market research, I've got to select that record, change the status to pending preliminary research status. Once I do that, I confirm that move, okay? Then that record now is going to show up under offer requests because it's now, see, it's now in pending preliminary research status. That's your first step to being able to get to market research. But even so, here, once it's in that status, it's showing I can get to my market research, right? So that I can determine a real market value. So that's basically what has to happen. I thought we had one more step, but basically it's pending preliminary research. Then you can go into the market research, which is right here at this level, or I can edit the record, come over here and hit edit, and go into market research from my options. So, but what is important here, before you get to these market research and pulling these up, before they will successfully be able to pull up, you have to look down here at the record in the property information section. You want to make sure Now, you may not have a street address. Hopefully, you'll have some coordinates, but you need to at least have a zip code. All right. You need to have the city, state, and zip code in, and you don't even need to have the size of it, but you need to have at least these three. Mainly the zip code is what's most important. All right. If this record is in pending preliminary research status and you have this property zip field, then you will have the options at the top of this page to research the property, with sites like Zillow and Trulia. So this is the most important piece of information that you need, along with it being in pending preliminary research status. Okay, those two. With those two pieces of information, then you come up here under options and you can go right into your market research and you can pull it up. All right, hopefully that's clear. That's something that folks have a little issue with as we, and it's new. It's understandable for folks that are new. Um, what you need to have in place in order for all of these different market research places to show on your record. And that's usually something that's overlooked most of the time. Okay, and one of our business questions we have coming in here, which we normally like to keep it towards investment dominator related questions, but Sabine asked last week, are there benefits in having a realtor list your contract on the MLS versus using a brokerless MLS site? Okay. Are there advantages to having a realtor list your contract on the MLS? Okay, she's talking about MLS versus a brokerless MLS site. So for those of you that are new, what we're speaking of here is once you have, okay, the record has gone from prospect status or prospect stage. You've sent out an offer request. That's coming in here in pending preliminary research. You go in and you determine what your offer amount's going to be, your market value, etc. Once you send out these offers, the next step is it goes to offers made or offers sent status, right? And then finally, when your customer calls you back and says, hey, I accept your offer, we move this now into what we call a selling status or selling stage, but it goes to the status of complete ready to sell. So that's what Sabine is referring to here. Once you're in this complete ready to sell, meaning you're ready to market this property, you're ready to sell it. Is there an advantage to having a realtor list this property on the MLS versus using a brokerless MLS site? Well, I can tell you straight out, anytime you can get your property listed on an MLS, that of course gives you much, much more exposure. So yes, there's a great advantage to doing that. There's a great advantage to listing it on MLS. However, usually when you involve a realtor, there's a fee. So you have to have that built in to and be prepared to pay a realtor. And so one of the questions I get, quite rapidly. So to answer your question, Sabine, yes, there's definite advantage. You get much more exposure. It doesn't matter if it's a brokerless or non-brokerless MLS site. Use the MLS if you have access to it. Definitely gives you much, much more exposure. So the next question we get is how much do you pay a realtor in terms of commission, okay, to list your property or to assist in the selling of that property? Like if we've had a realtor bring us a potential buyer for one of our properties we have for sale, and we will add an addendum to our existing sale agreement, and that addendum simply states, we'll give this realtor, if there is a realtor, that would show up on your agreement. I think there's a section in here where you can put, if there is a realtor, trying to remember where that's at, but if there's a realtor, you can put that on your record so that we know that there's a realtor involved. If there is a realtor involved, we paid no more than 2%, and that's on a regular basis. We paid 2% of whatever the selling amount for that property is. In one case, we paid 3%. Just in one case, we paid 3%, but we normally are right around the 2% area. No more than 3% for a realtor who brings you a buyer for that particular parcel. So they are representing basically a buyer, and that's been the most we paid. It's not like in houses where they're looking, 6%. All right. So don't get sucked into that. If you're dealing with land, we say don't pay more than 2 or 3% at the most. Okay, that's another business question there, but we'll make sure we at least list it so that you can reference that in the future. Sandoval asked a question a week or so ago, and Sandoval was asking, will the notes tab generate an amortization schedule for me to print and give to the buyer? Okay. Will notes tab generate an amortization schedule? And the answer to that is no, it does not. What Sandoval is speaking about, we have a note section here. Before we even get to that section in our land deals, when you have a property that you're selling, let's say, okay, oh, wrong account. Let me go to another account here. So when you have properties that you're selling, and let's say they're in complete ready to sell mode, right? So then you're going to calculate basically your seller financing. He's speaking of seller financing. You'd come over here, once it's in complete ready to sell mode, you look at your payment calculator. Your payment calculator allows you to either do a loan or allows you to do a lease purchase. Now, so these are people that are going to give you money down, hopefully to cover the cost of that property with your seller, and they're going to give you a certain, if it's a lease purchase, it's called a deposit. If it is a loan, which is the note that Sandoval is referring to, it would be a loan because it's going to have an amortized schedule associated with it. And he wants to know is somehow does Investment Dominator calculate that amortized schedule? The answer is no. And that's one reason why we've always opted to do lease purchase agreement as opposed to loans, because if I had hair on my head, the amortized schedule, keeping track of that, it would make all of my hair hurt. So I don't care for the loan. I don't use the loans. I use lease purchases. And there's a whole bunch of reasons, but that's not even germane to this discussion. But let's just say I go $800 down. Hopefully that will cover the cost of my property. And I'm going to leave everything else. The annual property tax is $135. I get to charge a documentation fee, and I'm going to charge my interest rate 12.9%. Why can we do that? Because banks don't loan on vacant land. So we can do that because we can. That's the answer. Yeah, we can do this because you're the only game in town. If you're going to give this person a loan against their property and you're going to carry that note, you can charge them 12.9%. And also, if you want them to put down more money, bigger down payment, tell them you'll lower their interest rate. Okay, just for those of you that get to this point where you're ready to do some financing. All right, so once we get here, we determine if we want it to go 48 months, and we summarize. This puts together, this is as much as it puts together for your buyer, your potential buyer. It will tell them how much they give you down today, $1,345, and their monthly payment's going to be $170.30. This is basically the information. You could copy it to a clipboard, send it to your buyer. But in terms of an amortized schedule, we don't get into that because that allows you to make principal payments. They could pay off the land early by saving, certain months of interest. They're going to make a principal payment, and then they will save that entire month's of interest. We don't get into that. I don't even want to get into that. So we don't use the loan part. All right. And we don't have any way of right now Investment Dominator calculating an amortized schedule that would go out for 48 months and let them know all the principal payments they could make to pay that off early. We just don't get into that. So sorry, Sandoval, we can't help you there. And okay, Heinz, you're asking a very loaded question there, which is no short answer. The best tool to select a market. What's the best tool to select a market? Wow, I addressing that is wow. That's like I don't even know how to begin to address that. It's not just a best tool. It's a series of sites that we look at, and to select a market, and you want to look at certain indicators in those counties. Um, I can tell you that, obviously we look at Land Watch, is one of our indicators. And if I want to look at, oh, I'll look at a particular county. I'll just call up that county, Johnston County, North Carolina. I call that up in Land Watch, and all I do is I'll scroll down to the area, narrow bite, and I look at the land. I look at the listings to see how many listings, people are willing to pay for on Land Watch. And when I look at that land, I'll come in and I want to look. I want to see various sizes of acreage being sold in that county. So here's 10.5, 52 acres, 10 acres. You've got 155, I think is what it said. Oh, 255 listings, land listings. So that's a really nice amount, but you have 7 acre, 10 acres, 68 acres, even some smaller acreages, 1.66 acres. I like to see varying sizes and uh, and see the various types of land, rural. I don't want to see all infill lots. I want to see some rural property. I don't want to see farmland. I don't want to see a whole bunch of farmland, basically. But this is a way that I might look at a good market. I'll use Johnston County, or excuse me, or my county name under Land Watch, and then obviously, I'll come in here to look at good old Zillow.com. And when I call that up, I'll just type in the Johnston County in, wherever I'm looking. And obviously these are for sale, so I want to look at what has sold here. So again, you see a lot of land that has sold, obviously different pockets where there's tons of land that has sold in Johnston. I'm gonna look under my more to make sure, okay, I'm looking 24 months back. I might even bring that down to 12 months, just so I can make sure in a 12-month period of time, has there been a lot of land sold? And you can see there has. So this is a good indicator. This is the outline of my county here. It shows me a lot of activity, land has sold. So Land Watch showed me there's a lot of land being listed there. People are definitely selling land. Johnston County in Zillow shows me a lot of land has sold, but that's not only the indicator. I want to look at, you know, how what's fast growing. You know, what's in my path of growth? Is this in a path of growth? What's the major city that's closest to this county? Um, in this particular instance, it might be Raleigh over here because you see Raleigh's not far. Raleigh's a major city growing very fast. So this county is on the outskirts of Raleigh, probably very much in the path of growth. As you can see, all this land being sold here. There's a whole bunch of more parcels out here that you could probably select from. So I'm just saying there's a lot of indicators that tell me about my market that I'm going after. It's not just one tool. All right. A little more complicated than that. And that's something we go into in depth at the 2-day workshop as well. So hopefully that gives you a little more insight. Good question. It's just not easy to answer in this forum. Okay, I hope that gives you a little bit more insight though. Okay. 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 I'm gonna look at try to deal with Anila's question here. It's a good question, Anila, on what's the best way to keep track of when offers are expiring? Okay. Okay. Best way to keep track of when offers are expiring. Okay. In ID. Well, Anila, that is there's a few ways you can do it. I think one of the most efficient ways, in my opinion, is to create tags for those records. So if I'm in my Investment Dominator and I look under offer request, obviously I see all of these records in pending preliminary research status. So when I send out offers, hopefully what you've had put into your Investment Dominator under customize and under your document template settings, hopefully you've come in and you've given yourself your offer is going to expire or the close of escrow. That's what I think one of the question you're really asking is when offers are expiring, you know, you give yourself 180 days, which is 6 months. So hopefully if you have this set up in Investment Dominator under document template settings, under the customize menu, this gives you 6 months. This 180 days is 6 months. So you know that it's expiring, 6 months from the date that you mail it out, right? In Investment Dominator, I come back and look at my offer requests. If I mail out these offers, once I have pending preliminary research status, I have an offer amount, right? I have a market value. Investment Dominator is going to mail out this offer or produce that offer for you to mail it out. Okay, so with that done, what I might do is I would come under customize, create a tag, and my tag, when I add the tag, it just might say, offer sent, and it's 060420. All right, so I have this tag now, say offer sent 060420. Now, I automatically know that when I add this tag, all right, I've got that tag in there. I come under my land deals, offer request. If I send out, let's just say this offer today, right? I'm going to tag my record, come over here and tag. So I've selected it in Investment Dominator. I come over here and I can say tag. and I can select, this tag probably is down here at the bottom, offer sent, 06 04 20. All right. So now I confirm that tag. Now, at least once a month, I can go into my Investment Dominator and I can search by that tag. Um, I can search by any one of these tags that I've already created. And if I look back here and I see, well, okay, well, I created a tag that said offer sent, um, 06 04 20, I might have another tag that's on a record that says offer sent 01 05 20. Okay, or I'll have another tag in here that says offer sent 02 um 02 05 20. So that's February. So you see, every time if I tag my records and I come back in here and search by that tag, that tells me all of the, you know, records that may be coming up due. So this is just one way to do it. If I look and I see I've got a tag in here that says, I sent out a whole bunch of offers on 06, excuse me, 02, 05, 2020 back in February. And when I search on those records, this one I'm going to, be on the 06, 04, and I search, it brings up that record. Well, if I had some in there from February back in 20, I put that tag on there, all those records are going to come up here that I can now check and say, oh, these are going to expire in a month, right? Because I came up under my customize and I gave myself 180 days, so I gave myself 6 months, um, and I tagged all those records that were in pending preliminary research. When I sent those offers out in February, I tagged them all. So even today, I can go in and list all the ones I tagged in February. They're going to come up, and I automatically know these are about to expire. Um, that would be one of the ways I'd be able to tell. It's not it's not really glamorous, but it's effective. And if you have on your calendar, you want to check around the first of the month and see all of those offers that might be about ready to expire. That's the way we keep track of them anyway. And it works very well. It's effective. And then we know we have so many records in here that we're going to have to go back in here. And depending on where that record is being, hopefully we have sold that property or we've already got buyers for that property. So it may not even be in pending preliminary research status. Hopefully it has been changed to the complete ready to sell or found buyer open escrow status, right? So just the ones that show up still under pending preliminary research that show up based on our tag, do we have to call the seller again and say, hey, I might want to extend my contract with you because I'm, basically I'm not ready to close on your property yet. Okay, I hope that brings a little insight there for you. And getting a bunch of okay. Okay. So we got a question here about how okay. Okay, so an associated question with what I just got done sharing about is about tags and how to use them. So Sheila, good question. And tags, you know what they are and how do we use them? Okay, so tags are basically, uh, just if you want to use the Investment Dominator for a little bit more insight here, search user guide, you can just type in the word tags, and it comes in, has how tags work in the Investment Dominator. Is a good article just to give you a little background. All right, I think I'm the one that wrote this article here. Probably did write this article. But in any case, I write some of these articles, and Alex, who's the creator of the Investment Dominator, the genius behind Investment Dominator, he writes a lot of articles on for Investment Dominator. But basically, tags are a way to group records in the system. So I might tag records based on, just like I said, one of the best uses of tags was offer requests that have been sent out. Um, if I want to see all of my offer requests by tags that were sent out on the 4th, today, I'm going to group all of my records by tagging them, and you can do one more than one. All you have to do is select. You select multiple records here. So you see I've got 5 records selected. Come in here and I can just say tag, because I've already created my tag and I know they're in pending preliminary research. If I select this tag, offer sent today, once I confirm that, all right, I can come back now and search for all those records that I sent offers out today. And when I search, it's going to go in, it searches for all of the records. And as you can see, I have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a way of grouping records. If you go into that record, you can see I have here offers sent. These tags get added to your records. So it's just a way of grouping records so that you can later on search for that group of records easily. And you can make as many custom tags as you want. And you use them just so that you can keep track of, without having to create a whole different status. You don't want to have to create a whole different status. You just want to keep track of some records that are in a specific status. So I can keep track of skip trace records that way, because once you move them out of the skip trace status, you can't search by status anymore. But I may want to know, what records did I skip trace before? What records did I not have addresses for, but I skip traced and I actually got deals? Well, I can come in here now under customize. I can create a tag, add my tag, and just say skip traced in June. I mean, whatever I want to say. All right, so I create my tag, and so now let's say right now these records are in skip trace status, right? So I want to select all of these records that are in skip trace status, and I just want to keep an internal memo to myself. I skip traced all of these records. I can come in here, I can look up my tag, put on, I skip traced these in June, confirm that tag, and okay. So now, once you skip trace records, you're going to put them back. You'll be putting all these records back in prospect status, right? So, excuse me, change the status to, so they'll all go back in prospect status. So I will lose sight of these records being skip traced, right? But if I want to keep track of the fact that I at one time skip traced these records, let's just say I do that. I go in here and I change the status of these records to prospect. I confirm the move. So now there are no more records in skip trace status, because now I want to mail them out again. But I want to keep track internally that I actually skip traced those records. What do? I come back up here, I select by tag, and I skip traced all these in June. It goes back and searches and it finds these records that I skip traced back in June. So no matter what status they're at, they can be in pending preliminary research, they can be in, I'm about to sell the property, it doesn't matter. But it tells me these are the records I skip traced back in June. And just for the sake of, once I do my search, I can just go select all, and I'm going to change the status back, just so I know for that I want to, change it back to skip trace. But see, that's just an example. You have all these records that you can group any way you want and keep track of them, and that's basically why we use the tags feature and how we use it to then locate records in the future. So just let your business requirement drive whether or not you use tags, but it's very, very strong, powerful tool that we use to keep track of and group our records. Very good questions, people. Let's see if we have some here in the next few moments that I can address. I don't see any that are short. Let's see. We talked about tags and okay, we may have to answer that one on Monday, Paul, but let me see. If I have a buyer that is getting a bank loan to buy the vacant land, however, the buyer is going through some sticker shock as the bank is charging around $2,800 in various closing fees. The bank, okay, makes 500 documentation fee look pretty reasonable. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, you're just making a statement. Wow. Yes, 2,800 in closing fees is that's pretty high, Paul. That's pretty high. I usually for closing, if I'm buying property, I'm closing, I don't pay more than $1,000 total for closing fees, and even if they owe back taxes, it doesn't come to 2,800 bucks. That's a lot. Okay, one by one or tagging in groups. Okay, yeah, I think you saw, Sheila, where you can tag records in a group, right? I think I did show you that. Can we tag records in a group? Yes, you don't have to do one by one at all. I can come in here and just select a whole bunch of records. I can even do a search. I can do a search. If I wanted to tag all of my Lee records at one time, I can search by county equal to Lee, search. It brings me back every single record. In fact, there's a bunch of records in here, 51 pages worth of Lee records. And then based on my search, I just do a select all. And you see, automatically it puts in page after page after page. It selects those records for us, right? Then I can come in here and I could hit tag. I could select any tag that I've already created. Once I select that tag, it's going to allow me to confirm that move, confirm that, and I could update these records. I'm going to clear the search because I don't want to do that. But yeah, you can do as many as you want at one time. So people, that's about all we're going to have time for today. Great questions. I hope this was helpful for you. I really appreciate you guys every week. And the questions I did not get answered today, I will be looking forward to answering them for you on Monday, the second half of that call. As you know, the first half is for beginners and we go through the setup. So for today, if I could leave you with this thought about courage. Courage is the most important of all virtues because without courage, you can't practice any other virtue consistently. That's a true statement, and that's a quote from Maya Angelou. So, courage is the most important of all virtues because without courage, you can't practice any other virtue consistently. And I'm going to honestly tell you guys, Before I got in this business, I didn't have a whole bunch of courage, especially where it came around to real estate. Didn't think I could do real estate. Didn't think I could ever make money in real estate. And I'm just telling you, I'm completely transformed. You don't do things apart from fear, but you can take action in spite of fear. All right? Stay courageous. Have a great weekend. And I will look forward to talking with you all and seeing you again on Monday as we get your questions answered. Okay? Take care, everybody. Have a good day. Bye bye.